Welcome back, everyone, to Total Nonstop Impact. Yeah. To my left, your right, we got Bill on the road. Bill, where are you?
I am, well, it's been a crazy travel schedule the last 24 or so hours, Jaba. Because obviously I was in Mississauga outside of Toronto last night, and I am now in Orlando, Florida.
So you went from north of the nation to the almost farthest south end of the nation. In
That
less
is correct,
than 20,
Jaba.
in less than 24. Please tell me you didn't drive.
Well, not to Florida, but I did make the 7-hour each way trip to Canada yesterday. And then
God.
I stopped at home about 5:30 and got on a 8:30 a.m. flight, and now I'm here in Florida, and I've already been to a wrestling show today.
And it doesn't stop. Nothing stops us.
I got a shirt.
This guy goes even more hardcore than your local post office, ladies and gentlemen. My goodness.
Well, because before Final Resolution was even announced, I had already bought a ticket to the Atomic Wrestling show in Orlando, because like December, Florida is like, that makes sense as a good time to go. So I was like, I don't think Impact's going to run around there, and they didn't, but they ran the day before. And of course, I'm crazy, so I'm like, can I make it work? I knew it was going to be tight, but I was able to make it work.
That is nuts. Well, as long as you're okay, that's what's most important here. My goodness.
Yeah, well, right now, that's why I was like, let's get it in, because I will admit, my only sleep since pretty much the last time we did a review here, J-Bone, is the flight from Philly to Orlando, which maybe was 2 hours and change.
I was going to say it's probably a few hours max.
Yeah, so not operating on a lot of sleep today, but that's fine. We'll get a brief. That I don't need a lot, so getting close to 3, that can get me through. And then as soon as we're done here, I'll crash for the night, and then back at the grindstone tomorrow.
So now, are you going to take a flight out of there tomorrow? Is that what you're doing?
No, I'll wind up. I'm gonna give myself a little bit of a break, and then I'll wind up traveling back in the evening, and get back home.
Yeah, you gotta give your body some rest, man, because otherwise that's when you start getting sick, and I mean sick.
Yes, yeah. So
sick
for the most part, I do. Yeah. Not the sick we want, but I'm pretty good at knowing my limits. So it's just usually when you push up against them, then it's a recovery, and you got to give yourself the recovery to get back at it. But as we get older, that always becomes a thing you manage and realize it keeps changing slightly. The goalposts keep getting pushed out.
Most important thing as you get older is you have to listen to your body. And especially as men, we are very stubborn at doing things like that. We don't want to. We ignore stuff. We try to fight through for our family and others. And when your body starts, making you aware of stuff, you gotta give into it sometimes. You gotta listen to it. It's hard. It sucks, but it's life. You just got to do what you got to do. But hey, I'm glad you're good. I'm good. We're all good. Chat's good. At
All
least as
good.
far as I know, chat's good. Let us know how you're doing in the chat, by all means. Hope you're all well tonight. This is Sunday night. We didn't do it last night just because it just didn't work out, and Bill was out of town and other stuff. Well, Bill was at the show. But yeah, so let's talk about some Impact Wrestling / the final show of Impact Wrestling and what is soon to be the birth of a new TNA, or rebirth of TNA, I guess you could say. We got, as you can see in the cover of the video, we got a new face, surprisingly, at the show, which I had a feeling we were going to see someone, but there was no rumors at all.
No, they kept that pretty tight. Like, that didn't leak out anywhere. So kudos to them, because it kind of came out of nowhere. Like, there's a connection to him and a lot of to everything in the area and with the company and all that. So there is a connection there, but I don't think anybody was really thinking this kind of out of the blue.
Right. Yeah. And depending on how well you know him is obviously going to affect your opinion of, the new signing of Trent Seven. I haven't seen him wrestle in a long time. So I was like, oh, well, I know he's a good wrestler. I haven't seen him in a while. I'm assuming he hasn't really lost a step in a sense. And he proved that last night. That was a lot of fun.
No, he looked good. And honestly, J-Bone, I think even farther back with Trent, because I first saw, I think most people probably know him from NXT UK and stuff over the more recent history.
Right.
But I remember him.
And it's a bigger stage. Yeah.
It is. But I remember him, obviously, when he first came over with Mustache Mountain, and it was the King of Trios in Chikara years ago.
Okay.
And they were so over as a team, because it was Trent, it was Tyler, and there was a third member, and I'm missing the name right now and who the third original member of Mustache Mountain was, but just seeing, I remember
or something.
It may be.
It was someone deep. I mean, deep in the UK scene, and they were going all over the place. This is what I remember. There was, and I think this predates my time with this podcast. And you might remember this.
Yeah, my time would be pre that as well. This is 2000, I don't know, maybe 16, 17-ish, I'm thinking.
Oh, Courtney here. Yeah, Pete Dunne. Yeah, totally. That's exactly who it was. Yeah.
Well, that was his British Strong Style. Is that what Critical Stink's saying here?
Exactly. Yeah. British Strong Style. Yep.
Yeah, because there's Mustache Mountain and then British Strong Style. My introduction to him was as Mustache Mountain.
Yeah.
And I remember specifically in New Orleans during the New Orleans Mania week when it was Lucha Underground versus Impact, and going on Bourbon Street and seeing some random wrestlers. And I remember specifically with my friend Todd, as we're just walking around, I'm like, oh, there's Punishment Martinez. And he's like, how did you know that was a big dude, kind of looks like a guy.
Yeah.
But then I knew Trent Seven. That's the other guy I kind of recognized. We didn't see a lot of wrestlers just walking around, but I'm like, that's Trent Seven over there.
Nice. There was a show, and it's funny because Scott D'Amore actually kind of if you weren't really paying attention, you probably didn't notice it, but Scott D'Amore was talking about a show And it was basically like one of these shows, like Final Resolution. It was like one of the smaller shows in between the bigger ones. And it was, I don't even know where they were showing them. It might have been Fight TV. I'm not sure. Because I think it's even before Impact Plus. Maybe. But they were showing, in fact, it might have even been back when Eli Drake was in the company. I'm not sure. But there was a show that they did that had all these guys from Mustache Mountain, the three guys, Tyler, Trent, and Pete, on Impact show. But the deal was they couldn't show the match because the three had just signed with the WWE.
Gotcha.
So it was before they hit
WWE. It was for like the live crowd only.
Yeah. It was exactly. It was for the live crowd. It wasn't for the TV audience or wherever, like I said, wherever they showed it. Fight TV, wherever. And so that's what Scott was referencing last night. And I thought that was really cool because that, you want to talk about deep cuts. That's Critical Sting. So it was a Destiny wrestling show. Yeah, I think you're right.
They ran all the shows there, so I'm sure it was Destiny when Iceman was running the promotion. So that makes a lot of sense. That's the whole connection with Trent and why they kind of were what they were referencing during the show last night. But we do have a tip here
from
Bell's Boy.
He says, Merry Christmas to you all.
Go ahead.
Well, Phil's back in WWE, of course. Andrade's leaving AEW, maybe. That rumor's been floating around for quite a while. Charlotte injured her knee, possibly badly. We're starting to see the trickle effect of that is hitting the headlines now. Front Row Bill is in a feud with Diener. Oh, yeah, Diener was in your face last night. And 1/3 of Mustache Mountain is TNA. And Otani is a Dodger for $700 million. What? That's the
that was the big news. That's the big sports news, J-Bone.
Oh, okay.
The biggest contract and the timing, because the day before I went to Toronto, all the media reports, the fake baseball news was saying he was signing with the Toronto Blue Jays. So everyone was all excited for it. But then by the end of Friday, it had come out it was bad reporting. But it was unknown, but people still thought the Blue Jays had the inside track, even though everyone's thought for, honestly, the last 2 years that he was going to go to the Dodgers. But then that's what wound up happening. He went to the Dodgers for, as we like to say in the business, a buttload of money.
For 10 years, $700 million for 10 years. So that's $70 million a year.
A lot of it's deferred for like tax implications, but it's still like he's going to wind up getting $70 million a year. But it might be paid until he's an older man. But crazy money, crazy money.
Yeah, that's retirement money right there. Jeez Louise. Dragon Storm says update.
Oh, he's right. That's the answer. It's Dylan Maloney. That's the guy I saw in Mustache Mountain. Years ago.
I'm not familiar with him, but I know Pete.
This is all pre their WWE association. This is when they were young up and comer guys from the UK circuit. Okay.
Gotcha. But yeah, that was wild times back then. And I guarantee you, that was back when I was watching Flow Slam too, and they had a lot of UK stuff on there. So that was wild times, and that's all pre NXT UK before they they gutted the UK scene and all that controversy. But thank you, Bell's boy, so much for the super chat. Much love, man. Much love. Yeah, Flow Slam reference. Yeah, we got to get it at least in like once a night now. And on a slightly sadder note, besides the signing last night, which was exciting, headlines came out earlier today that we can absolutely say friend of the show, we love him dearly, David Penzer is departing Impact Wrestling.
Yeah,
this was
that
his
one hurts
last.
me here, Jay.
Yeah. I absolutely. I tell you what, man. Us getting our picture taken in Chicago, and then all of a sudden David Penzer just jumping in the photo like, "Hey, that is forever."
It's only fitting.
Is forever going to be one of the highlights of professional wrestling for me and being associated with this podcast. We love you, Penzer, and but he said he's not retiring. He's not
retiring. He said that to the live crowd. And Impact handled, like, it was very classy, everything they did at the end there. Gave him like an award of recognition. The whole backstage locker room came out to kind of congratulate him. So like it was all very, very well handled. But it seems like it's one of those things. I know even David Penzer would joke. He's like, I don't know, like they kind of like brought me back out of nowhere. He's like, I don't know how long this thing's going to last. And it seems like that's one of those things where with all this, even though he's obviously a TNA connection, it seems like they are going through these changes. And I guess for the rebrand in Vegas, that's kind of where it all made sense to, like, this is a good time to kind of part ways, if you will, on a note. But yeah, he's definitely not retired. Like, it was kind of one of those things where he got the call and Scott kind of gave the whole story that, like, he was, well, before the pandemic, he had come back briefly for that Atlanta TNA show. I guess on commentary. But then they needed a ring announcer and no one could travel. And he was willing to drive to Nashville in an empty studio at Skyway to start doing the announcing. And that's what got him back in to the company. And then it's been on that ride ever since. But such a fixture there. And obviously our podcast, me personally, has a very good relationship with David Penzer. So I'm definitely going to miss him. And he did kind of say, as I was congratulating him after on like all the good work, he's definitely going to be in contact. So maybe there's a chance we might work on something where maybe you can see Penzer here maybe at some point or something. Well, we'll figure out, because we're obviously going to, whatever David Penzer decides to do going forward, we'll definitely be on top of it here and help in whatever way we can.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Whatever he plans to do. Yeah. Just, support him with whatever.
And plus he has a lot of houses to sell too.
This is true. He is, I almost forgot that. Thank you. Yeah. He is a realtor, isn't he?
Yes, he is. In
that's
greater
what his,
Tampa
that's what his main
area.
job is. Yeah.
So not too far from where I am right now.
There you go. So yeah, we're gonna miss you. We're gonna miss you, Penzer. Poolside Penzer. A lot of great times.
Yeah.
I'm glad we were able to connect in Chicago, even if it was briefly. Tons of fun.
No, I've been lucky enough to share a drink with Penzer maybe once or twice on the road. So
that's awesome.
Definitely some good times. And just like we talked about with Mike Tenay, like, it would be great to bring in, maybe to call a main event on a big pay-per-view or something like that.
Yeah.
Might not be the same thing with David Penzer. Like, big Bound for Glory, Slammiversary, announce that main event in the ring. Not a bad thing either.
Yeah. So, as far as news, I think that's it for news coming out of the show.
Well, coming out of the show, I know today there was something, I see it was mentioned here in the chat as well. Bell's boy, rest in peace to Frank Wycheck, who did wrestle in TNA at Slammiversary 2007, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He mentions it farther down in the.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go.
Because there was a lot of connection to like the Titans, based on obviously them doing a lot of stuff out of Tennessee during that time frame.
Yeah. Interesting. That's all blurry to me. I don't remember that, but I'm gonna take your word for it. So yeah, rest in peace. Bell's boy here in the chat says Jade Chung for ring announcer. If she's traveling with the company on a regular basis, then she could absolutely go from like hype person to ring announcer pretty quickly, I think.
Well, yeah, obviously she was doing it at BTI and occasionally for Impact already. There was some times where Jay did do it on the Impact show, but kind of what you could see happening was I think the whole thing was Jade was kind of training for this job kind of under Penzer for about the last year or so. So it just, that seems like it's obviously going to be, to me, I think it's like Jade's job to lose. Like I'm assuming that's definitely the direction they're going. Could they have other people do it at times, stuff like that? Like that's all, please. But I'd be shocked if not the ring announcer going forward.
Yeah. So, all right. Yeah, it's and we don't have long to wait. It's right around the corner.
Yeah.
The
thing is, they do have people that have experience ring announcing, because obviously the merch guy was the ring announcer at one point. Jeff, he's been a ring announcer on Impact previously. The Iceman, when he's at shows, he does ring announcing a lot. So there is a lot of connections. So they do have, because there was that time where they were kind of using local ring announcers for a while.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like Penzer, obviously the voice of WCW, that's one thing. But honestly, my opinion is it's almost like it's a position that I feel like J-Bone, our generation still, and obviously generations before us, really, like, there was a reverence and like the long-term people that were always ring announcers, like they were the voice of the company in a way. But it just seems like over the last 10 years, a lot of wrestling companies, they randomly just change it. Like they have it's a churn and burn industry. The ring announcer feels like. Yeah.
Yeah. Bell's boy's got an interesting question. In the chat here says, I have a question for you both, please. Do you think that recently fired Kevin Sullivan could come back to Impact / TNA? I don't know. I don't know how that him leaving the company, how that went when he did leave at the, in the early days of AEW, because he literally just upped and left with majority of the crew. I mean, he really left them high and dry. So I'm not sure how that would go. But we'll see. Yeah, well, hopefully we'll get Bill back here. Looks like he had a bad connection in the hotel motel. But yeah, so all right, so we're gonna start getting into the show itself. Like I said, hopefully we'll get him back. Where are you at, Bill? Where are you at? All right, so final resolution, final Impact Wrestling event for the company. Everything going forward into the new year, or in the coming new year, 2024, will be referred to as TNA. So definitely looking forward to that change, along with, hey, some other changes, maybe a new, maybe some new entrance musics for some of the people, or at the top of the show, some new tunes, maybe a new look. Definitely some new faces. We got one last night. Yeah, a hotel, motel, Holiday Inn. All right. And as we're getting into this, make sure you guys know what to do. You guys know to smash that like button, smash that sub button, ring that bell for notifications. Let them know you're here. All right, so pre-show definitely got some surprises, because they had Sheldon Jean versus Frankie Kazarian as the only one. We ended up getting 3 matches or something? Two or 3 matches. 2 matches? No, it was 3. PCO versus Jessie V for the first one. This one only lasted a few minutes. This was just basically PCO destroying does Jessie guy look familiar? But there's a lot of wrestlers that look like him, but I don't think he was part of the company before. I thought it was someone else at first, but it's not. So I'm guessing, like I said, I'm guessing it was just a local talent to just give him some ring time, and someone for PCO to rough up. PCO obviously over here. It was a lot of fun. Just destroyed him. Just destroyed him. Mayor in the chat says Trent 7, the new spokesperson for Manscaped. Actually, you know what? I would actually say Trent 7 would be the anti-spokesperson for Manscaped. He has so much hair, so much facial hair. Unless we're talking about something down there, I am not privy to what he does down there in the nether regions. But as far as anything from the neck up, I would say no. He's definitely not a candidate. Oh, God. Bell's boy thinks that Diener attacked front row Bill in the hotel room. Well, hopefully that's not the issue. Let's just hope that whatever happened to Bill, whether it's just Wi-Fi or maybe his, computer fell off the bed, or oh, Bill on. Okay, here we go. He's back. I think we switched devices here.
We did, J-Bone.
Is this Bill on the phone?
Bill on the phone.
Bill on the phone. There we go. All right, just gonna adjust your volume a little bit here. Check. All right, he's back. The folks in the chat were scared, Bill, that maybe Diener got you. Bless you.
Gotta be careful of that.
No, Diener didn't get you though. That's good.
No. Not this time.
Not this
Not
time.
ever.
Okay, that's good.
You can't be going after Tommy Dreamer.
Well, yeah. We were just, we'll get to that later. We were just talking about the pre-show matches. The first one here was PCO versus Jessie V. Looks like
Jessie V, who local to the area. I feel like I did see him one other time.
Okay.
I'd have to look back to see where it was and which show, but I do remember that name, and he looked familiar, so I definitely did see him at least one other time. But I guess he's like, I think he's a face normally. I got the impression from some other people around me. So like, because they were like obviously fans, but they realized quickly he was going to be the heel in this match. But getting PCO, good way to get the crowd kind of into it. Because really what that pre-show was doing was getting to build the Final Resolution, the main show.
Oh yeah. And it's funny when I didn't realize who that was because I missed like the first few minutes of the show. So I only saw like a couple of minutes, which it didn't last long either. It was like 5-minute match of that. I thought this was that guy that used to be with Brian Myers, one of the guys that was under the learning tree.
Oh. I wonder which guy you were thinking it was.
Similar look. He had the dark brown hair and he had like a goatee.
You talking about my guy Manny Lemons?
No, not Lemons. No.
Oh, were you thinking of VSK?
Yeah, that's it. I was thinking that's who I thought it was at first.
Okay, I can see that.
I saw Jessie V and I was like, wait, is that same guy? VS? Yeah. But obviously not. Yeah, because I don't think he's working with AEW anymore either.
I believe not. I know he works a lot with PPW, an indie near me in PA. He's almost on their shows monthly. But yeah, because he had that run, obviously, that AEW run, then kind of an Impact run. Then he kind of went, I think, back to AEW for like Dark and a couple other shows. But yeah, I don't think he's been there since, like, recently.
All right. So, but nonetheless, rest in peace, Jessie V.
And PCO, I noticed he had let's just say he cleaned up a little bit more. Like, I don't know if it was he had a sharp new haircut or maybe not as much of like the neck bolts. It seemed like a little bit of a cleaned, scaled down monster a little bit. I don't know if anybody else got that impression, but it seemed like it was a little bit not as much of the monster, maybe more of a Pierre or a Carl.
It could be. I know he still had like the rings around the eyes. You know,
he still had the rings. Yes. So, like I said, it wasn't completely gone. It just seemed a little scaled back. But could that be? It seemed like at one point they were teasing during the Bully Ray feud. Could there be like a little bit of away from the monster, more of a man?
More towards the human side. It could
maybe
be.
I don't know. Once again, that might be a stretch, but it seemed like you watch enough of it, you look for any little differences.
Right, yeah, and we as goofy wrestling fans were like, "Hey, he didn't have this," or "Oh, hey, the scar in his head was gone." I'd have to go back and that's the first thing I think of when I see him is he's got that gigantic scar that he like pronounces heavily with makeup and stuff and makes it look like he's got a 3-inch gash in his head. But yeah, we'll see. It's TNA is going to be full of, we were just saying before you came back, the rebirth of TNA is going to be full of changes. So it could be for people, entrances, theme music, the look of the company itself, production, everything and anything could be changing.
Well, that is one thing, J-Bone. And honestly, you're going to have to officially tell me, where did Final Resolution cut off airing wise? What did it end with?
It was shortly after the end of the match, because it went from that into the
To the video
promo.
package of Osprey Alexander 2.
Yes.
And then that was it, it seems like.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. So the end was a little, abrupt, but yeah.
So yeah, all right. So obviously we alluded to it, but what happened after that was, like Scott D'Amore comes out, addresses the crowd, brings out everybody. They do this stuff with Penzer. But at the end, he does mention that like he's paying for the rights to it, and Cross the Line plays to close out the live crowd.
Oh.
So that seems as much of a confirmation that I'll take, that I think that's the theme song again, Cross the Line.
And there's going to be a lot of people crossing that line in 2024.
Yeah.
So
no
it's
doubt.
appropriate.
Yeah, no, it feels right.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be a lot of returns, like to TNA. What was TNA? There's going to be differences. There's going to be some new things going on. But I feel like that, even though there was obviously many theme songs over the years, that feels like the one that everybody gravitates to for the TNA. We'll call it the golden era of TNA.
Let's just bring his audio back. Okay, I'll do that. Like I don't hear it as much, but
What's
maybe
that?
it's for the public. Oh, they're talking about your audio, so I'm bringing your audio back a little bit.
Oh, it's too high.
Yeah, is that? So I'm asking the audience now. Is that okay?
Yeah, and that's probably because the Wi-Fi signal wasn't great, so J-Bone had moved me up there, but on the phone, it's probably fine, so it can go back to normal.
It's also because these stupid like earbuds don't do our audio any justice either. So if I'm not hearing something right, it could be coming off so totally different over YouTube or Twitch. So
Gotcha.
in other words, I need new headphones. That's one more upgrade that's coming in the new year. But yeah, all right, back to the pre-show. So yeah, PCO slaughters Jessie V.
Jesse, we hardly knew you.
We are right.
But then before we get to our next pre-show match, we get a little backstage segment.
Oh, the drama.
We see it again later, but like it gets re-shown. But we see Jake something cutting a good promo backstage, but then Jason Hotch takes him out with a steel chair.
He does. Yeah,
and then, like the great look on Jake's face when he gets hit with the chair and goes, "You mother!"
Yeah, you mother.
Just like the way he looks into it, goes, "You mother," and then just falls. It was like a movie shot. Very, very nice done. And once again, you can already, and I know a lot of people were saying it yesterday, you can already tell some of the improvements. Like everyone thought the venue looked good, the just the feed looked good, the sound was good, even the backstage segments had like a nice look to them.
Oh yeah, it's definitely yeah, I didn't see any flaws. Then again, I was having trouble staying awake, but that's just because I'm just old. So I doze off for parts of matches, but overall, I thought the show itself looked great. Now this next match was a nice surprise. We got Jack Price versus Aiden Prince.
Yeah.
Nice to see Jack Price featured in this match, and the return of Aiden Prince. We haven't seen him in a while. He was
hurt.
he was injured. Yeah,
Like it felt like he was
why
about to get a push in like the
Yeah.
X division, and then he got hurt, and everything got derailed. He had a brief moment in the IPWF show, but yeah, good to see Aiden Prince back. But yeah, and like he looked good. He looks like he's fully healthy, which is great to see. But I think Jack Price, like, gut check winner there, with Jason Hotch when they both won. But we've seen him on BTI at times. We haven't seen him a ton yet on the main show. But if I didn't know better, I would think almost just like we saw Hotch he impressed in a couple instances, and it got him even more. Like the good hands get a lot of TV time. You might not like maybe if they're not winning or something like that, but he's on TV, and that's the goal here. And I think Jack Price, and I don't know if anyone will ever say it, but from the IPWF show, J-Bone, the tag team as the Paperboy with Chris Sabin is fantastic.
Oh,
and he
really?
was very good in that match.
Oh, man. I'm gonna have to check. I don't know I wasn't up for watching it that night, so I was like, yeah, whatever.
Come on, the Sunday Morning Express.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check it out sometime.
The evil editor in chief, played by Chris Sabin. Oh, it's gold, J-Bone. And the Paperboy, Jack Price. That may have got him even like some more momentum, maybe backstage.
Yeah, maybe. But they made a big point during the match to say that he hasn't had a winning match since joining Impact Wrestling, but he won here.
Yeah, not as Jack Price, because the Paperboy won on IPWF all those years.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
Jack. Yeah, because mainly on BTI, like wherever he was used, like I do not think I saw him win a match. So this is a good sign. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, this was definitely a fun X Division style match. Great to see Aiden Prince back in action, and definitely nice to see Jack Price really featured in this, as opposed to thrown out there with someone where it's like, Jack's gonna lose because you know who he's wrestling. This could have went either way. So it was just nice to see both of their talents shine, versus each other. So Courtney said Delirious was even on the IPWF. Oh, jeez.
He was.
That's crazy.
And that's something, because obviously he was walking around. Obviously he wasn't on the show, but Delirious was at Final Resolution, doing like in his backstage role.
Okay. Someone in the chat earlier was asking if Chrissy Hemme is still with the company.
Now, I have not seen Christy Hemme at a show in a while. I did see Gail briefly, but we know her involvement. But I have heard at times that Christy Hemme is still involved in Impact in some way, but I don't know if she's there in person involved in any way, or maybe when they're in certain areas, but not from my casual eye. Have I noticed her in quite a while? So
okay,
I don't know. I don't know if that's confirmed anywhere, because I think that's coming up, obviously, with her long history as ring announcer during TNA as well. But once again, I don't know if that's even what she wants to do, like in any role here and there.
It was back at the what was the all women show? Knockouts.
Yeah, she was back for that, and I remember her being part of, and maybe she played a role beyond that, like backstage. But maybe I don't know if she's done that beyond that point since.
Oh yeah, yeah. Daniel Spencer, friend of the show, in the chat. Good evening,
Who was
Daniel.
up there as well. He was given the official 1, 2, 3s.
Yes, yes. Safe travels to you, Daniel Spencer. Good to see you. Tremendous show last night. In the end
and
of,
Daniel, I obviously I know Harry D was also one of the refs, the female referee. I was not familiar with. I assume more of a local referee there, but also did a very good job. So kudos to her as well. I thought all the officiating was very good.
I don't remember what match it was, but she at one point she lost her footing, and she could say she even took a bump. She got back on her feet immediately and was like right back in the middle of the action. Yeah, she did great. She did great. So, Emily Parker. Oh, okay, nice. All right, what's next here?
Oh, we did have another backstage segment, Javo.
Oh yeah, Gia Miller, yeah.
Gia interviewing the tag team of the Knockouts champ Trinity and Jordynne Grace.
Yeah.
That they're like, are they going to be able to focus, work together, communicate? And it's one of the ones, hey, yeah, of course we can. But then it ends with kind of like, well, maybe they can. As they start talking about what's going to happen at Hard to Kill. So we'll see. That might be some setting up some things, but we'll see what that's all about.
Yeah. I saw a clip on, I don't know what it was, Twitter, Instagram, one of those earlier today, just in quick flipping through socials quickly. Jordynne Grace was doing push-ups and Trinity was sitting on her back while doing it. I was like, wow. That's Jordynne Grace is just
strong, and there's what Jordynne Grace is.
There's the juggernaut.
Yeah, the juggernaut is, you can't quantify the juggernaut.
She is something else. Man. And is she wore kind of an old school some old school it was kind of like old school ring gear. It was like celebrating an anniversary, I guess. Like signifying the end of Impact Wrestling and also signifying it was similar to what she wore when she first joined the company. Like some Haas stuff or something like that.
Yeah, it reminded me of her Rachel Ellering tag team era, kind of. Yeah,
okay.
Like she was like the Haasette.
Ah, yes, the Haasette, yes, yeah. So Courtney saw that too. Yeah, the push-ups. That was crazy. Last but certainly not least, on the pre-show, we get the Sheldon Jeans. Versus Frankie Kazarian. Always great to see Frankie Kazarian out there. Now it's
serotonin.
Yes, yeah, we gotta scream that for lack of our third partner in crime that's usually here, Alisha. Serotonin.
Some serotonin.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward with Sheldon. He's going to be on his own because there's no more Kenny King in the company. But I feel like Kenny did a tremendous job with him. In fact, like I've talked about this several times. When you see young up and comers making their way up in the company, and they get paired with a veteran in the industry, and it just vibes. You
Yeah.
know, you can see them, you know, learning, always on camera with them, maybe not saying much, but you know they're still learning nonetheless, getting some
Oh yeah.
time in there. What did you think of Kaz versus Sheldon Jr.?
No, I think this was pretty good, and like I think Sheldon continues to be more impressive. Like over his run here, where he's his character has developed a little bit more. He's showing some tendencies, like things you're starting to kind of expect from him. But even in ring, I thought he's been looking pretty smooth in there in ring. Obviously, working with Kaz, that's a good thing too, because Kaz is an excellent worker. So
Oh, sure.
like he's one of those guys that like you're gonna look good working with Kaz. So but no, I thought this was a good match to kind of end there. And once again, a lot of guy like he almost he wasn't getting a face reaction, Sheldon, but he's another guy that they see a lot up there. So very familiar that audience was probably more than the traditional Impact audience.
Yeah. So, yeah, we even have a Ashley Rose in the chat. What's up? Good evening. How you doing? Good to see you here. So yeah, that's the pre-show. Kaz defeats Sheldon Jean, and it's going to be interesting to see where Frankie goes in this coming
Yeah, well, we
year.
see him cut a promo during the show later that kind of hints
Yeah.
at some of that.
Yeah, and because he's been very prideful in how he came back to Impact
He
Wrestling,
has.
and it's going to be taking like a back seat going into this veteran. Well, we'll see what happens. It looks like he wants to accomplish some things. He's got some goals, so that's good to see.
He does. And
Yeah.
just kudos to Frankie, because that's one of the things I know, like a lot of the fans will always talk about when either wrestlers sign to come here as a free agent or maybe guys return. But it's one of those things like, and obviously the big example I think was like everyone would get on like Hogan, that Hogan was more promoting himself than promoting TNA at the time. And like Frankie's going way out of his way to really promote TNA. Like the reason why he came back and putting the company over above everything else. So just kudos to that. Definitely a company guy.
Yeah. Definitely a big difference in the presence from where he was in AEW to now. I mean, I'll say this: when AEW started, Christopher Daniels, and
Scorpio
Sky, thank you. They had a great thing going, you know. But then over time, you know, things change. Positions change, jobs change.
Yeah, and that happens in every company.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
For various reasons. Usually it has not a ton even to do with the talent. It usually has to do with many other reasons why companies are going in other directions.
Oh, yeah. Can't stay on top forever. I don't know where this came from, but this is funny. Bear says, J-Bone, hot spice chicken wing or Kazarian's chicken wing? Which one do you take? Well, I love food. I think the world knows that. In fact, if you don't know, I've become one of the top 10% in the Google reviews for restaurants. Yeah. So
really?
Yeah, we're worldwide known. If J-Bone tells you to go someplace to eat, people are listening. People are
Oh,
listening.
so trust the bone man with your choices out there in the world.
Trust the bone. Trust the bone.
He will
Hot
not
spice.
steer you wrong
I'm
unless
not
it's
a
a
wing
Mexican
guy.
restaurant in Chicago.
Right. Yeah, we just
Then don't take
let's-
any of that advice.
Tony's is good. We'll talk about Tony's. If it's a Mexican restaurant, you probably don't want to listen to my thoughts, especially when Trent gets me drunk. No, I'm kidding. Hot spice chicken. I'm not a wing guy, but I will take a hot spicy chicken sandwich on the occasion.
Are you a bone or a boneless chicken wing guy, Jay?
Oh,
And then
boneless.
you say, well, don't you just mean a chicken nugget? And yes, I do.
Well, it would be a pretty big chicken nugget if we're just talking about a sandwich patty. But yeah, I would rather have the hot spicy sandwich. I would not physically want to take one of Kazarian's chicken wings. No.
Now, I'll say this, J-Bone. I'm probably against the grain in like chicken wings and stuff because I'm not a huge fan, and I'm not from the area, but it's not far from me. But I'm not a buffalo sauce fan. Like I rather have like I like hot, but I'd rather have like a different taste than the buffalo taste with my hot sauce.
Oh,
Like
okay.
I'd rather have some other flavors. I think it's almost like a thing with ketchup. I'm not a huge ketchup guy because I think it's just an overwhelming taste, and it just like A1 on a steak. It just tastes like A1. I think if you
Okay.
put ketchup on most stuff, unless it's a little bit, it just tastes like ketchup. And I think the same way with buffalo sauce. It just tastes like buffalo sauce.
Right.
So like
So
I
if
don't
you're
even
go- if-
taste chicken. I just taste buffalo sauce.
Right. So if you're gonna put something on it, you're gonna put something unique on it.
Yeah, like and heat's fine, but I'd rather have some more spices and other flavors than just a certain sauce. That's just what I am. I'm that way with most condiments and sauces.
There you go. All right. So that's it for the pre-show. Let's go into.
Now, J-Bone, you let me down a little bit because
Uh-oh.
I thought you'd make a joke and you didn't, but that's okay.
I'm
Continue.
sorry. Did something go over my head? I'm so sorry.
Nah, it's okay.
Famous podcaster and famous foodie, J-Bone. Yes.
He does it all. He wears many
I do.
hats
Yes.
and bandanas.
Yes. Yes. Haven't donned the bandana in a bit. I've been doing more hats lately.
Now, does
We'll
that
see
go
what-
back to Ross Foreman giving you a hard time in Chicago?
Oh no. No. I took that off just because it was hotter than.
Oh no, we know why you did.
Yeah, he was just being goofy. Which I totally appreciated. That was great. All right. Final resolution is on the air. Let's see here. We start out
Tag
big
team
time
action.
here. Tag team action. We got the tag team titles on the line. ABC, the Bullet Club, the Ace and Bay connection versus, excuse me, Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards. I tell you what, as much as I love Ace and Bay together, they've proven themselves time and time again ever since the New Japan Tag League or whatever that was that they were in.
Yeah, the Super Junior Stag. Yeah,
That's it. I was oddly looking forward to what would happen between Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers.
Now I know there was when it first got announced, people were like, huh? Like the connection? But they've both been around a while, like in the company, even though they're not usually teamed up together, but they do share enough similarities where you can see them being on the same page on a lot of issues. So I think, and it's interesting because if as we wind up, we won't get to it yet, but based on what was announced for the Snake Eyes TV taping and that team, it's kind of all making sense because you have the connection with Moose, with Myers, and Moose and Eddie, and putting them all together. It is kind of like a ZNA group,
I was
which
just
was
gonna say
the
ZNA.
moniker during the TNA days of the young guys of TNA.
Right. But what did you? I mean, you know what you're gonna get when you get the Ace and Bay connection in the ring. What did you think of Myers and Eddie? Were you? I mean, I didn't.
I thought they were a good combination. Like didn't expect it, but they were like didn't expect the team, but I could see them working well together, they definitely do. Like Myers is, as if you, we'll just say it, he is a tag team specialist. Like he's a very good tag team wrestler. Eddie Edwards is one of the all-time great tag team wrestlers, even though he's had a great solo singles run. So no doubt they can work well together. And obviously Ace and Bay are at the top of their game. So obviously there was a spot in this match though that like Eddie takes a bad fall in this match.
Yeah.
And goes the old hard way, or as I like to say, especially since we're talking about Eddie, the anti-Killer Cross. So he goes the hard way on that one. And luckily, since we had after match and all that, he was able to get through that. So luckily, it didn't seem like it was as bad as it could have been. But that probably maybe got the ending a little bit different. But no, I thought it was good, and where then we see it turn into what happens afterwards. It was some good stuff.
Right. So we get the win from Ace and Bay, but then the Rascalz jump them in the ring, and they're holding the tag titles over them. So that's definitely a sign of things to come in the future for the new year.
Yeah, no. I think that's obviously nothing's announced. I still don't think anything's announced yet, and we'll kind of go over what happens more during the show here. But it feels like there's going to be some kind of tag title match, obviously, at Hard to Kill, with ABC defending at least against the Rascalz, but maybe more teams as we see later in the show.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's going to be a whole new bunch of titles given out, fresh championship belts, if you will.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's I'm sure a lot of people are talking about that, and it'll be interesting to see if we have just returns to a previous design, or if it's a new design. Very interesting things that will happen with that, because
Yeah.
I know a lot of people have preferences, the wrestlers, the fans. So it'll be interesting to see kind of which direction they go.
Right.
And
you're not going to make everyone happy, but some of the classic looks are pretty cool. Yeah.
they are. It's probably something where you kind of want to go a mix. Definitely bring back maybe a couple of the classic belts, or a variation on some classic belts. And if you do want to try to do something new, like maybe bring something over currently, like the digital media title, I think most people agree is a nice looking belt. Maybe just keep that as is for the most part.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. But I know it's all coming. We don't know if their belts are going to get just shown at Hard to Kill, if they're going to, show official releases of them on social
now
media.
this is me personally. I think you got to have them there. Because when you announced it far enough in advance, like if they weren't already in production, if they didn't put those into production after the announcement, then that's someone dropped the ball if they're not available.
Oh, and this is going to be no stickers, just strapped in.
Oh, the stickers. Oh,
no stickers.
No stickers on belts.
That's right. Yeah, we're going to get some fresh titles.
What were
all
they
right,
doing?
and we get a promo here from
Josh and
Walking
Zack
Weapon and Zack Sabre Jr. Haven't seen Zack Sabre Jr. in a long time, I gotta admit. So I'm at this point, I see these two together. Zack Sabre Jr. He jokes, he says something to the effect of, "Oh, it's about time, TNA, it's about time." So and I love this this jersey that the Walking Weapon has on. It's an old T-shirt design with a fresh look, with the Toronto Maple Leafs colors.
Yep.
Same as his gear. Yeah.
Hometown boy.
See. Oh, and then after that we get Lish Edwards boycotting the show alongside Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers.
Somebody called it. Some might even say the best pipe bomb in wrestling history.
I don't know about that.
Who else could do a pipe bomb like Lish Edwards?
Oh, Lish is always improving here and there. I wouldn't call this like pipe bomb of the year, but she is absolutely.
She was hijacking the show, J-Bone.
She's hijacking the show. She's coming into her own. She definitely got the crowd riled up. Like, oh, what's going on? Come on, what's happening? Well, then
she turned the oven up on heat.
The arena got all excited because Santino Marella, he tried to get everyone in the ring to leave so we can keep the show going, and Santino Marella is like, fine, I'm the director of authority. If you're not going to leave, then I got another way to solve this. And out comes Jody Threat.
Yeah, she was wearing her wrestling costume.
Yeah, your wrestling costume. Yeah, you forget she's a wrestler. Oh my goodness. Well, hello, Oreo. Yes. Come join the party. Better you just sit here nice and scream from the other room. Thoughts on Jody Threat versus Lish Edwards?
Well, I thought Jody looked good here. And then out of nowhere, Lish wasn't prepared for this. Thought she gave a nice effort, even though Santino was trying to give her a jab here. But yeah, another local like Jody's hometown there. So she was super over with the crowd. But no, that was good because it felt like we weren't sure where maybe Jody was recently. Like she was involved with Courtney and Jessica, kind of like there was like that angle going, but really where kind of was. So kind of getting her back on in a winning way could then pivot to see where she's going to go next.
Right. Good to see. Yeah, definitely going to get the local pop, being from Canada. So
yeah, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah, the hometown girl. Yes. Let's see. Next we got
title match.
Yes, digital media title. DMC, if you will. Tommy Dreamer
DMs.
defending against Diener. Now you might be a little even more biased this time just because the challenger even got in your face before you got to the ring. What's up
Well,
with that?
and you know what? Because I don't always go after, but I usually pick a side.
Yeah.
And then this one probably was getting a little more under my skin lately because even the fans out there, even our own Discord and stuff, there's a lot of Tommy Dreamer shouldn't have this belt talk out there. We'll just put it out there, and I'll agree to a part that I thought Crazy Steve was gonna take it off of him, and maybe he still will at some point. Um, but I still think Tommy's doing a good job with the belt. So it was just a little added thing where like I'm gonna go after Diener today because Tommy Dreamer's a legend, and Tommy Dreamer, I go too far back with Tommy. We've had table spots together, so I always got to root for my guy Tommy. But and Diener, obviously the stuff with Callahan, the design, it's bubbling with Diener here. So I gave him the booze. I gave him and he definitely he didn't like it. He didn't like it. So I was the foil for Diener on this night, but for Tommy, it's for a good cause. So happy to do it. Oh, J-Bone, are you on mute?
Oh, sorry. My bad. I want to take a pause here in the middle of the show, and I just want to share something with you before I completely forget to share
Okay.
it with you guys. So, I don't go on the Facebook page as much as I used to. I used to go on there all the time and promote stuff. I barely promote the show anymore. That's just my own fault. I'll take the blame for that one 100%. But I have noticed that we've gotten a few messages lately, and one in particular came through. God, when did this come through? This came through. Oh, this afternoon. This
hot off the presses.
It's hot off the presses. Yeah. So I figure, being the live show that we are, which is not pre-recorded, this is not edited. What you get is what you get.
It's real.
And it's as real as it gets. You get cats screaming in the background. You get neighbors falling out of trees. You get whatever. This is what you get. The second part of that I'm not sure, but anyways, so this is from Mr. David Chapman. Yes, we're calling you out. Did Mr. David Chapman, and of course on the back end of this it says assign the conversation. Well, I'm assigning myself because I'm reading this live. So here you go, Mr. David Chapman. This is just for everybody's entertainment because this made me laugh my ass off. So this says, he says this afternoon, he says, your page was flagged for going against our page policy, which includes restrictions around sharing, distributing, or promoting content. Is this big word of the afternoon, evening, folks? This inauthentically. I had to Google that one. I'm like, is this even a word, Bill? Inauthentically.
Oh.
That means not being very authentic. Okay, that's what that means. We continue. You must not accept anything of value to drive traffic to an app or site that engages in traffic arbitrage. Anyways, or one that contains a this guy is using some $5 words in here. Jiminy Christmas. Contains a disproportionate volume of ads relative to content, here we go, that is highly sexual, shocking, clickbait, or promotes scams. Learn more about.
Well, this sounds like a generic form letter.
It's in its finest. Learn more about sharing content authentically on Facebook. What to do next? Your distribution will be limited if your page is flagged repeatedly. If you believe your page was flagged by mistake, you can submit an appeal.
So this is just like the same thing that used to happen on the YouTube. It's just like random people just can do
just
whatever they
messing
want.
with you. Yeah. You can submit an appeal here, and it gives you a link. Thanks the Facebook team, and of course the page automatically does one of those automatic replies and says,
sounds like the meta folks that they're not really looking at anything.
Hi, thanks for contacting us. We received your message and appreciate you reaching out. So Mr. David Chapman, David, can I call you David? I feel like we're pretty close now, seeing as you put this like page long letter in our inbox. I feel slightly violated, but it's titillating to say the least. I hope you don't think that we would purposely put any highly sexual or shocking or clickbait content on there. I mean,
well, David covers all of his bases for anybody that's going to get flagged for something.
He does. I mean, I'll toot my own horn here and there, man. My wife will tell you that, but Jiminy Christmas, I didn't really think anything that we were putting out there was that bad.
I think you're okay, J-Bo.
You think we're going to be all right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So yeah, by all means, David, reach out again. And if we did something specific, please let us know. All
David
right. Back
Chapman
to the show.
needs to go buy another Lexus and send his kids to private school.
There you go. So yeah. So whenever we do get these lovely little letters, we'll read them live on air, because I just think it's highly entertaining.
I'd rather have something more original than a form letter from a conglomerate.
Yeah. I was most impressed with the $5 words. Jeez Louise.
That's why they get paid the big bucks.
Yeah. So, and still, Tommy Dreamer is your digital media champion.
That's what you get, Deonna.
That's what you get, Deonna. Let's see. Backstage, Santino Marella turns Trey Miguel's singles match against Mike Bailey into a tag team match. So we get the debut of Trent 7. Very excited. We talked about this briefly. The debut of Trent 7 and all. And let's hear it from the live chat here. What do you think of Trent's debut and him signing live in the middle of the ring post match? I thought that was a nice moment.
Yeah, they haven't done it too many times, so when they do it, it does have there's a specialness to it.
Yeah.
And obviously the biggest one, Josh, previously at the same venue, so it seemed like a good time to do it.
Yeah, there's definitely there's history in that arena with, as Scott Demore mentioned, with Josh Alexander, then Mike Bailey, and now Trent 7. So there's a pattern here, and it's great to see,
Mm-hmm.
It feels good when you're How was the crowd's response to this? Bill, you were
Oh,
there.
the crowd went pretty nuts for it.
Yeah.
They were loving it. And like I said, like I think enough people do know. Obviously, if you're like more of a hardcore wrestling fan, I think you know. But a lot of the people there are a lot of like the Destiny and like that fan base. So they were familiar with seeing him work that actual building in the past. So I think that was even like an extra bump in the crowd reaction. Like that might be a better crowd reaction than he may have gotten at some other towns that they were running.
Yeah. So yeah, and I think we're gonna see more of that in the up and coming year, especially with some new maybe not all the time. I mean, I think there's gonna be times, especially with the pay-per-view coming up in the new year, where you're just gonna see new faces and you can pretty much assume that they're are signed or they are
Yeah.
going to sign.
Because Impact, that's one thing over the last handful of years. They don't make a big deal a lot of the time about but certain people they will. They'll make a bigger deal and be like, this person signed a multi-year deal, stuff like that. But then remember, like even like Brian Myers, it's like, oh, I signed a new contract like 6 months ago. Nobody ever knew it. But people, so stuff like that tends to happen. Like we know other companies will make a big deal. Like we signed our janitor to a 3-year deal. Like nothing against janitors, we love the janitors. But like everybody in the company they announce has signed the deals. When you do it 100 times, it kind of loses the effect.
Yeah. So Justin Miller says the new graphics look nice too. Yeah. And there's
they're definitely going back. Like they're not changing a lot. Like they look like TNA themed things. Like slight variations on them, but they're doing that. Now they just got to bring back the water gimmick from back in the day.
Yeah. And it looks like we got a fellow podcast in here, Down with Wrestling. What's up, guys? Welcome. So yeah, welcome Trent 7. I'm definitely looking forward to this. And for those who may not be very familiar with Trent 7 or his history with the UK wrestling scene or other factions he was associated with, like we were talking about earlier, go look it up on YouTube. Take a few minutes, go check him out. I think you'll be happy with what you see. So welcome to Mustache Mountain. So yeah, Mike Bailey and Trent 7 defeat the Rascalz, if I didn't say that. But yeah, it was fun. No Myron Reed here. I don't know if that was a one-off in Chicago or if maybe he'll come back in the new year.
Yeah, it could have been. It could have been. You never know. But one thing that Scott D'Amore said at the end after the show went off the air when he was addressing the crowd, it's like before he met the Penzer stuff happened. He was like, some people are gonna not be here next year, but then there's gonna be some new faces.
Yeah.
So I think like we're gonna see a lot of that probably that first.
Oh sure. Yeah, I'm looking forward to a lot of change. Yeah, like I said, not just roster, but just the whole look of the company, top to bottom. I'm really excited for it. A new coat of paint, if you will. Let's see here.
But that also, like I said earlier, though, with the hard to kill match, like that Speedball Mountain, as the crowd was donning their name. If there is a tag team title match and they beat the former champions that are going to invoke their rematch, should they be involved in the match? Wrestling logic would tell you yes.
They definitely could. You could see, 3 or 4 teams in this.
And that's what it feels like. It feels like probably there'll be like at least like maybe a 4-way. There's probably like a surprise team that's gonna get in there too, I would imagine.
Yeah. And if you pay attention to the social medias or the news, you notice that there's a few, we'll say, free agent tag teams kind of floating around there in the breezes of wrestling. So as we get closer to the pay-per-view, we'll include more of that in our discussions. But for now, I'll let you guys guess, who might be out there,
Big wink. Are you giving a big wink right now, J-Bone?
Little wink. I got a few ideas, but
a grizzled wink.
I'll leave it. Oh yeah. Could be them. I was thinking of someone else, but we'll see. There's definitely some options out there. So, yeah. Trent 7 signs a contract. Very exciting. Just scrolling down the page here. Motor City Machine Guns talking backstage about facing Josh Alexander and Zack Sabre Jr., saying that they don't have what it takes to hang with the kings of tag team wrestling. And Motor City Machine Guns can definitely claim that, especially what they've been doing over the last handful of years in this company.
Yeah. And especially right now when they're holding the top 2 singles titles.
Right. They may not be tag team champions, but yeah, exactly. So Jason Hotch is out there. He's saying that he took care of Jake something and he doesn't have an opponent tonight. Well, guess what, Mr. Hotch? You are wrong. Out comes Jake something. He may not be in the greatest shape, maybe still wincing a little bit from those previous chair shots that attacked backstage.
Yeah. The back caught up to him a few times, but in the end.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I even felt it. That looked bad. That looked really bad. But we got Jake something versus Jason Hotch. What'd you think?
I liked it. Well, from the get-go, I liked, because usually with the good hands, Skylar gets the mic. And so seeing Hotch with the mic, cutting, like, hopefully now maybe for the good hands, it'll be maybe a little more equal partnership, where Skylar's not the mic man over. Because remember, like, even though they were a great tag team, we see Josh Alexander can handle the mic very, very well. But remember, Ethan Page just got all the mic time during that North era.
Right.
And Josh was kind of like, he was just like the enforcer, pretty much. But like, you could tell he had it in him, but yet he wasn't getting that chance until he became a singles wrestler. Jason Hotch, you're seeing like he can do that, but it's more that Skylar's the veteran that has been doing it. He gets all the chances, and even like on the way out, he gets to dig in on Penzer. That's a good hands gimmick. Shut up, Penzer.
How appropriate. Yeah, they got history. Oh yeah. If Eddie was here, he even dons the sign in several audiences lately too. He takes that all over the place. It's hilarious.
But like Hotch, I remember saying it like it was an early match, and like it's like they gave him a chance. I want to say, I forget if it was Speedball or Kenny King, but maybe it was Kenny King, but it was one of those guys early, and they like he showed up on a show, and I'm like, he did a great job. Like he didn't win the match, but he was excellent in the match. And
Yeah.
it's like, and then all of a sudden he becomes a member of the Good Hand. Like he just randomly shows up. They use him in a taping, and it just all goes from there.
Yeah.
And like you see it, like in ring work, and then like even like the IPWF stuff, he showed some more of it, like a persona, and that's kind of what they gave to Jack Price. I think that may have helped him, and now maybe he's going to break out. Like once again, it's you gotta, especially as you're trying to develop your own talent, you gotta find little positive steps that's going to make you take this next step with them. And I think we're seeing that with Hotch here, because like I said, I think he's a future breakout candidate.
Oh, I firmly believe that. I firmly believe that. In fact, the second I saw him, I was like, there's something about this kid. Sometimes you can just see it. Like I saw
he's got an it factor that not everybody has. And I think that's a guy that like he definitely in next year could be like an X Division type champion type guy.
Oh yeah.
That just continues to kind of evolve.
Yeah, like I love what he's doing with John Skyler right now because number one, I like John Skyler. I've been a fan of John Skyler's for years and always wanted to see him get some kind of opportunity just past what he was doing in the indies. So to see another connection, like I was saying, you got that elder statesman and then you got the young up and comer. It's a great combination.
Yeah.
But Jason Hotch is absolutely the future of this company. Like years ago, and I'll reference it again just because it's a perfect example. When I first started watching Flow Slam, I was watching a young kid who was practically a teenager at the time, I believe, was Austin Theory. Look where he is now. I looked at that kid back then, and I can't even remember. I think he had a who was with him? Oh, Gigi Dolan, or whatever her face is. She's married this. Yeah, she's married to Zach Wentz now. And I was like, man, that guy right there, he is absolutely a future Shawn Michaels. That's that's how big I thought he was going to become someday. And it took him a while. It wasn't overnight, but look where he is now. And that's how I feel about this Jason Hotch. I mean, he's had a slow but steady, year tagging with John Skyler. But I think as soon as they really have him break away from John Skyler, as much as I love the tag team, you're going to see something special in this kid.
Yeah, he might have to put John Skyler through a barbershop window, you're
telling me. Oh, just maybe. he might have to get Marty Jannetty in the most loving way. So, but it was great to see. I don't want to just not say anything about Jake something. His return to the company has been great. I thought he looked great in this match. What'd you think about him in this match?
Yeah, well, yeah. Obviously, with the the angle of selling the injury there with the back, he was going to be a little limited. But no. Once again, he like you see Jake something, and you're like, well, that like he stands out. Like he's like big dude. Like
more than before.
Yeah, like he stands out more even than like his first go around. Like he's a noticeable guy. Like he's a guy you look at and you're like, all right, that looks like a tough SOB. And that's what he gives off. So I think once again that's the guy we were talking about from Cousin Jake to the initial Jake something, but then he kind of like went through like the deconstruction where he was losing and all, but then he comes back. And he's much more of a like he's got momentum behind him. So we'll see where that kind of can get to. I don't know if it's something else they to really get him like maybe like up into like a main event picture. Is it something with do you do like a, because I thought that promo before he got hit, like I thought that was pretty good. But does he need some type of heater? Does he need like a manager or valet, something to kind of
Oh,
bring it up even more?
um,
Or is it just the right angle, a storyline? It could be either, but it feels like there's just something like to get him from like where he is now to like the next level. Something's gonna have to bring that up, pun intended. But I'm not sure what exactly. I don't have my finger on what that is. I think it could be done a few different ways. But to get him up to that next level, I think there needs to be like a push somewhere. But I don't know if
yeah,
that's just the right opponent or if that's something added to his presentation.
yeah. I think it's just the right feuds. Maybe it's going to be part of it. Like he started that within the last few months and returned to the company. It might take a little. He certainly has grown as a worker,
Oh yeah. And
but
you
I
see,
think
like
he still
during
has.
some of like the New Japan stuff, like who he was working with and all, like those were like he was getting some good spots. Like he was working with Sonata when he came over. Like those are good spots. Those are like that's a good spot for the guy in your company that's going to work that angle. Like now in the
Yeah,
end, that doesn't give him a win. So some people will be like, "Oh, why is that?" But that you're even getting that match, that's a good sign.
yeah. Yeah, we'll see what the new year brings for him. I'm definitely excited for him, and other up and comers like Jason Hotch. So it's gonna be an exciting new year. Let's see here. Then we got two beasts going at it. We
Uh,
got old
Literal
school
little beast.
Rhino versus Moose, and I gotta say, I think he cut the promo. Was it later in the show?
Moose.
Oh, it was later in the show. I think he
Yeah.
cut it. But I'll mention it now. He was mentioning that come the new year, he doesn't want to be known as the
The
wrestling
wrestling
god.
god, Mr. Impact.
Yeah, all these things that he's been labeled as over the last handful of years that he's been coming up in the company. He basically just wants to be known as the new TNA World Heavyweight Champion Moose. And it's like, oh, that's a pretty heavy statement.
That is. And that's the thing, like when Moose says that, you pay attention. And that's
Oh
what
yeah,
speaks to like Moose as a main eventer and a world champion
yeah,
is when he says that because of his look and his presentation and everything, you're like, yeah. And with the change of TNA, what are you gonna be at the start of this? Like obviously we'll get into that much later, but you have Alex Shelley, a pillar of TNA all this time.
oh
But
yeah,
then you also have Moose, who was also TNA
yeah,
through Impact. Like he's been there the whole time. World
yes,
champion. So but you look at it for like when you look at as and it depends what your preference is, but for a more like the most mainstream looking pro athlete star potential, you can't go wrong with Moose.
right, yeah. And he's had that taste of success. He's been world champ, but now it's it's definitely a new feel. It's like, the whole company's getting a facelift, like I said, a new coat of paint, and he wants to be the guy. He wants to be the face of the company. He wants to represent it. And I'm sure that's a lot of people want to do that.
Oh
But
yeah,
Moose is one of the first people here to be like, "Hey, I'm gonna be that guy. So get ready."
yeah, yeah. Because what it wasn't that long ago that a lot of people are like, Moose, you've accomplished everything you can in the company. So why stick around? But
Yeah.
yet he signed what at the time and still is. He said it's the longest contract they've ever given out.
Yeah. Yeah. And that says a lot. There's a loyalty factor in there too. It's not just a paycheck, it's loyalty.
Yeah.
So what do you think about Rhino versus Moose? I thought it was pretty good match.
I thought it was fun. Like from the beginning, where Moose is like gonna take the exit, but then it's revealed by Santino that Penzer gives the message if he doesn't like when they want to make it a hardcore match because he takes the easy low blow just to get disqualified and get out of there.
Right.
That he'll lose his hard to kill world title match. So obviously that gets him back in the ring. But this was fun. These two guys, it's tough not to root. Like Rhino's always enjoyable, always one of the most over guys. Because who's the man? Rhino's the man. So seeing them go at it, a lot of stiff chops. Like they were slapping hard, man. Leaving some marks. They were feeling it today.
Yeah.
But now I know, and I think some people either they said it or maybe even messaged me separately, but it was one because Moose is going for the world title. Like maybe they wanted to see Moose look even more dominant than in this match. I could say that to an extent, but then we'll get to the results of the main event, and then you might not be happy with that either, because the one thing this regime has showed you, if you think you can kind of pick results, and remember when we used to have our pay-per-view and we would do more predictions.
Yeah.
But if you go 50-50 on an Impact show, a lot of the time you're doing good, because if you want to go deeper dive in how they look during a match, Impact is great at doing like the surprise stuff. Like they really do 50-50 booking on everything, where they want to keep everybody in contention, but then also not make all the obvious decisions
right
that you would think. So you really, as someone that follows it very closely, you could be off. And usually it's just because they might still, like, if they're leading to a storyline, they still are, but just on a whole different time frame than what you think might be the time frame.
Yeah. What'd you think of that that ref number 2 that got put through a table? My God.
That was, I think I probably gave off a I don't know if it was a cheer or like I think, because I think I was kind of giving a little play-by-play as it happened while I was sitting there myself, but out loud.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think we got a ref pump coming. Just as he was like moving in front of it, I'm like, he's gonna get it.
Oh yeah.
So, but no, it was good. That was an enjoyable spot.
That was, and I laughed especially at that because I'm like, I thought the guy looked exactly like Brian Alvarez, from wrestling.
Oh, from everything, from running from behind backstage, like that might be a record for a guy to replace an official in a match. He was like setting the world time record, and for him to run in, do that, and like almost immediately get put through a table. But it was amusing.
That was nuts. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, and then the other ref, popped back up, and
Harry D still had enough to get back into it.
Yeah. Crazy. Then we get Moose gets the win here. Then we get that promo that we talked about earlier, Frankie Kazarian looking forward to the rebirth of TNA. And it's it's like I said, it looks like he's got some goals coming in the new year. So
you could say it's gonna be the year of serotonin.
Serotonin. which means cue the confirmation of the comeback of Raven's flock. You heard it here first. Serotonin. We can't. It almost call this a co-headliner. This was a pretty big match.
Yeah, some big tag action.
No titles on the line. Just some pretty important stuff going on here. Trinity and Jordynne Grace, are they going to be able to coexist on the same side versus Deonna Purrazzo and Gisele Shaw? Man, this was a lot of fun. I absolutely loved but for the last two shows, from when Trinity did that appearance with Chris Sabin down in Mexico to last night, man, she just always looks like an absolute star.
Yeah.
She looks like a champ. She looks like $1 million coming out there representing herself, the company, the Knockouts division, everything.
Yeah, no, the Trinity has been a great signing by Impact Wrestling. I think they knew it the day it happened, but it obviously has been from the eyeballs, the added eyeballs she adds, but to the live crowd, she's definitely bringing an element that's very helpful and has added already a great division, the Knockouts. But it, like, when you do intersperse some other people like Trinity, when Mickey James is there, like there's these other elements that even just bring it up another notch.
Yeah.
And they coexisted, Jape.
They did great.
Not as great is that tag team of Deonna and Gisele that has formed a few times, and they always have some miscommunication.
Yeah, and it seemed like they were going to what do they say? Hug it out in the end, but sadly they didn't. Gisele Shaw planted her on her face. And now typically, if you know anything about the wrestling industry, if someone might be stepping away from the company, this is kind of how they go out. They go out on their back, or they go out kind of getting their ass handed to them one way or another.
Yeah, like I don't want to I don't want to think it, but it was when I watched it, it reminded me very much of EC3's exit when Brian Cage laid him out. And that was just like, and I remember being there and be like, oh, I think I did the same thing when Deonna got laid out at the end. It's like, all right, she takes the pin, okay, but then Gisele just to like put a little cherry on top and just give her that little extra to kind of send her out. It's like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
And then I know I mentioned it on the Discord, but at the show today, obviously, Steve Macklin was on it, but also Deonna was advertised, but she did not. She was not on the show. And Macklin had mentioned to me that when she came back from Toronto today, it seems like she may have had some kind of from the match. It seemed minor, but like some type of back issue that kind of, as a result of something that happened in the match.
Okay.
Just playing it safe, sat out today.
But doesn't seem like anything. Something.
Yeah, I think if it wasn't such a quick turnaround, she probably would have still performed today. But since that had happened, since there was some kind of tweak there, that was something. So just hopefully, obviously, minor and get over soon. But
yeah,
just a little added needle there on the way out.
Yeah. Jeez. Yeah. Well, hopefully she's. I mean, and look, whatever happens to her, if she stays with the company in the long run, if she, if she's exploring free agency and
Yeah,
she
which she very
finds.
well, hey, entitled to do it. All the power to
Oh,
her.
absolutely.
Hope the best case. But it almost feels, but once again, I say this for a lot of them, like it feels like something where a little bit of time is going to go by, and then all of a sudden, just like with Jordynne, we went over this the other day, and it was there's a handful of the talent, the ones that seem like really part of the fabric, part of like, and that's what Deonna's been,
Hmm.
doing all the PR stuff like that. That's somebody, like it feels like they want to be there in a lot of ways, and then can just make the business part of their work, as
Yeah.
opposed to maybe something else that's out there. But if that doesn't look like it's out there, I'm sure they would welcome it. But as opposed to maybe what Impact and TNA haven't always done, where they book themselves into corners where it wouldn't make sense if somebody all of a sudden vanished off television, um, or if they had their world title. But now you almost got to take preventative measures for worst case scenarios, even if there is a chance that things would work themselves out.
Yeah. Yeah. Here, Mayor in
Because
the
remember,
chat.
like it feels like a year people have been saying Deonna was gone because she lost a match.
Yeah, and that's I don't know. Just I don't know. People are weird. I don't know
Like any
why
Deonna
people
loss
just.
ever means she was gone the next shoot. Like that was her last match ever. Every match she lost, but yet she kept on coming back.
And I like I didn't see it, but I'd hear about it and I'd be like, I don't understand that way of thinking, but whatever. Mayor in the chat here says, love to see Deonna reunite with Chelsea Green. They were a great tag team. We'll have to see what happens in the future. A lot of stuff happening in the future. Royal Rumble season is right.
And that's the thing. Like obviously, and hey, it's worked out great for Chelsea,
Yeah.
because like I don't honestly watch enough to even know, but I know she's on one of the main shows. And she's a tag team champion there,
Yeah.
even though her original partner got hurt, right? So
Right. They make
like
it work somehow, somewhere.
so they did. So like that would seem like an obvious angle, and like if if like a Deonna had the opportunity, but there's one thing to be like friends and have some history where you did work, and having a company support you to do that, kind of like out of the blue, even though they didn't give her a big push when she worked for that company originally. But if they were, because like we've sadly seen it with Taya now multiple times going to the other companies and hopefully financially working out great for her, but we never see her on TV, and that's a loss for fans when you want to watch these people.
Yeah. So we'll see, and I'm sure she's going to have plenty of people, follow her wherever she goes,
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt. It's just hopefully if they do go somewhere, they get like obviously good things for family and
Oh, sure.
finances and all that, but hopefully creatively they get to do stuff where they enjoy it and the fans can also do it, because the whole idea of whatever company you're going to, like if you're just going to get something financial out of it and possibly not be seen actually doing the things that made people fans of you, that's a little bit of a negative. But I feel like somebody like that puts so much work into their craft to be so good at it wouldn't take less than being someone that people can see them in their best.
Oh, right.
Like
Yeah,
I don't think Deonna wants to go anywhere and not work and show how good of an actual in-ring technician she is.
Yeah. I fully believe that. And I wouldn't I'd stick her on a main roster anywhere,
Oh no, I would as well, but I can't speak for these other companies because I don't understand most of the things they do.
Right. Yeah, they all got their own way of doing business. It is what it is. That's why it's called the wrestling business. So, and following this match, we get the result. We get to find out where Kazuchika Okada is going to be on the Snake Eyes end of the post Hard to Kill tapings here, and we find out that he is going to be teaming up with Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, the Motor City Machine Guns, versus, now this is interesting, Moose, Brian Myers, and Eddie Edwards.
So now seeing that, like that's what I mentioned earlier. Now that tag title match made a lot more sense because it feels now they're stabling together, grouping together. Eddie, Brian, Moose. Like I said, like they might just call themselves ZNA, but it feels like that's going to be a group. You have Lish there as like kind of a ballet. It almost feels like an old school TNA thing, but almost like a version of like a main event mafia vibe to it. Like if they start utilizing them all together under TNA, it's like the guys that were seeing the end of the original TNA now being like, hey, we're gonna make sure this is run the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. And but of course in the visual we get here, because it's pretty hard to kill, of course, Sabin and Shelley, of course, because they currently have the titles, but
easy enough to move those around.
if they change, given what happens at Hard to Kill, well, that visual can certainly change significantly.
But I'll say this though, Jim. You have Okada in the center of that graphic with the two champions from TNA flaunting him. And then you have Moose in the center of the other graphic.
Yeah.
That feels like that could be an updated graphic with a guy with a belt on.
It could be.
Which could be. If that somehow led to a Moose Okada, the two best drop kicks in wrestling, in a possible pay-per-view main event title match.
Yeah.
You'll be able to sell a bunch of that new high tier TNA Plus app.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Fans will want to see that. Well, now it's interesting because Moose and Okada have faced off before, didn't they?
They have. During the Ring of Honor New Japan time frame. Well, where Moose was obviously still very new to the business. But
okay.
he was starting to show like because he was a pretty fast learner. He was getting he already had the drop kick that's so good down. He had that, but he wasn't obviously where he had gotten to over the years. But and Okada was obviously Okada then still he was the great Okada that he is now. But having that match with possibly a lot more on the line, like a new branded TNA title.
Yeah.
That would be my pretty much dream match of what could happen in 2024.
Yeah. Well, no, I was thinking even more recently. Now, you went out to that show in California. Was that a year or two ago? And Moose faced someone. Was it Okada or someone else?
No, he faced Ishii.
Oh, that's what it was. The Stone Pitbull.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I thought it was Okada, but no. You're absolutely right. Okay. Yeah. So, but yeah, that absolutely could be the next pay-per-view after that. So, all right, main event time. We get Zack Sabre Jr. making his Impact debut alongside Walking Weapon. and they're taking on the Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. The final match as Impact Wrestling. And
the
man,
end of an
if there
era.
was it is. And if there was ever a match to like put an exclamation point on an era, my goodness. This match was sick. It was awesome.
Yeah, no, it's
I mean,
got
and
it filled
and I
your
know it's
wrestling quota.
yeah, I mean, and I know it's this kind of technical wrestling, especially if you're not familiar with Zack Sabre Jr., he is absolutely considered one of the top technical wrestlers in the world. And if you are familiar with him, boy, I'll bet you this match opened up a lot of eyes. It was great to see him. I really haven't seen him wrestle much the last handful of years, besides, of course, there it is
Not
again.
since the Flow Slam days.
Not since the Flow Slam, right? he was Evolve's world champ,
He was.
and I
Although
can't.
it's funny, J-Bone, I'll still remember like going to Evolve shows back then, and there were more than one crowd that didn't understand Zack Sabre Jr.
Oh,
The
sure,
style, like it was just lost on fans back then.
right,
And honestly, there probably is still fans today. That just if you were more of a wrestling fan for the big personas, the big guys, more the meat matches,
right,
a big technical, or even if you like the aerial high flyers and spots like that, that's not
yeah,
his game either. Neither of those are his style. His
right.
is purely like Dean Malenko match, like all times, like kinds of reversals and submission maneuvers.
Joint manipulation, right?
Yeah, and that's not for someone that's in the art and the sport of wrestling and seeing what you can do in the ring. That's gonna hit all the high marks for you. But if you're looking for these other
Yeah,
aspects of wrestling, he's very different. He's very unique in that sense.
yeah,
Obviously, I think that type of wrestling is more accepted, and there are a lot of parts of the fan bases that's more preferred now than it
yeah,
even was a handful of years ago.
yeah. His style isn't everyone's cup of tea, but at least in a match like this, you do get the technical side because that Chris Sabin, Josh Alexander, and Alex
Oh, they
Shelley,
all have it. They all have it to a certain extent.
they do, but they also incorporate a lot of other
They do. They
colorful
have a bunch
styles.
of different styles. Zack Sabre is almost a pure technical wrestler, as one there is. Like almost
Right,
everything he does comes from that aspect. Like
right.
Gresham is very similar in that respect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But this match was, and I haven't seen a match like this in a long time. It's not everyone wrestles like that. There aren't a lot of companies that personify this as the forefront of their roster. It's usually, tucked away somewhere a little bit and they bring it out every, handful of dates or whatever. But it's this was refreshing, and I hope people enjoyed this as much as we did. But that's the thing I've been saying about Impact for years now. That's a great thing about this company. You got some great knockouts, in this show. You got some just insanely good technical wrestling. You got some good tag team wrestling. You got some hardcore stuff. You get a little bit of everything, and they showcase it so well, and
Yeah,
I'm so excited to see what this brand is going to bring as TNA into the future, and even to keep growing with the same formula that they're doing and just keep pushing it into the future, you know?
Yeah, no. It was a good kind of bookend to the Impact era because it does show you kind of all the things they can do, and even like kind of as we talked about as they were ending the year, they limited kind of really the roster pretty much at the end
Yeah.
of the year. They limited where they were going, and so even scaled back to put this kind of all together, but with some production upgrades already. It feels like, just like the product was looking good, but it gives you an idea of where they're going towards TNA as well,
Yeah.
which I think there's still a lot unknown. We don't really know everything there is. Like we're going to be surprised with everybody here. Uh, like if you're watching this, we're going to be surprised with you guys as well. Like we really don't know what this is going to look like. It's going to
Well,
have
I think
something
the
like the old TNA, a lot of what we've been seeing, but it also feels like it's going to be different to very different than what it has been.
well, I think one of the biggest surprises, especially when we were talking about news the other night, was the Endeavor factor being a
Mhm.
part of the new streaming service. That right there was like, oh, you know, it's and it. I don't want to think that that's going to blow up into like a whole new different chapter in this company that it's going to end up being, you know, bought and sold by someone else.
No,
But when you hear about Endeavor being a part of that, you almost can't help but think that way. But I don't want to put too much of that out into the universe. I don't want to sound, you know, make it turn into like a negative discussion, like, oh, J-Bone, what are you talking about? You know, this
yeah.
and
Once
and
again,
no,
it's
this
just they handle streaming for some of the biggest entities out there.
right,
Like they're the big leagues of streaming, and
right,
by being part of that, they made a deal to work with them to get their product out via that service, which
yeah,
seems like a good idea when they've had a spotty history with their streaming provider
yeah,
previously, especially if you're going to upscale all this. So to be at somebody at the forefront makes a lot of sense. I know because of the connections and what else they own in wrestling, that's going to always be a topic. But once again, it's not that they didn't sell anything to them. It's more they're just utilizing their services. But to
right,
be in a good relationship like they had been in the past with the Mickey James situation at the Rumble and some other things with the Hardys, like they could, that's not a bad thing to at least be having offices that could possibly be talking to each other, work together um, for certain things like that. That can't hurt that area. But to look beyond
right,
that as more of a long-term play of, like it felt like most of the stories when that was announced were taking that way cart in front of the horse of acquisition and acquiring because that's all seems like anyone ever wants to talk about. But at
yeah,
least right now, that I don't think that's really part of anything.
right. So it's you know, as long as you know you stay focused on the whole like streaming end of things,
Yeah, you got to keep it as a separate streaming only discussion for right
right?
now.
It's not a
If there's ever
ownership, it's
something
not
that
a
goes beyond that, then deal with that when it comes.
right.
But as of right now, look at it that way. But if that becomes like that easily could become something where obviously WWE and Peacock and all that streaming, they're probably, well, actually, they're not right now. I don't think looking for additional content. But if that ever becomes a thing where they're looking for it, maybe they do try to be like, hey, like, of course, they would want a lot of history in the library to help with their own talents that have worked for the company over the years.
Oh yeah,
Could they get into that discussion? Well, if that does happen, that becomes more of an issue. Uh, where you could see some of that. Now, I don't think that would ever be like acquiring the whole current company as is, but could they make agreements to use some of the footage?
Yeah, and
Those discussions could happen at some point.
and they've actually had those discussions before, and it had
Yeah,
to
because
do
they
with
have used certain things. Like there has been very limited and things here and there, nothing
right,
major, but it could happen.
right with Kurt Angle, AJ Styles, personas like that. It's
And
happened.
especially if you're thinking that like there should be an AJ Styles Hall of Fame ceremony within the next couple of years. That could be another thing where it's like, and we did see AJ show up in video not long ago. So there could be something there. It's like, well, they want to try to utilize some of his footage, but Impact wants to have him be part of some ceremony. That could very well happen. And maybe that's at a better position to happen because of them working with the company in a way.
Right. Yeah. It can be. It could be nothing but positive if you look at it that way. So, but yeah, overall, I love this show. Like I said, it's a great conclusion to the brand of Impact itself. You get a little bit of everything. What'd you think?
Yeah, like if you go from like the initial early days, like kind of where you had like the live pay-per-views and kind of, and I think that's what people, if they were criticizing going into this show, it was maybe like, well, where's the storyline for this? Or where's the setup for things? And sometimes with the plus specials, you get that with maybe a couple matches, but not everything.
Yeah.
And that's what this one was looking like. But did the matches perform? And do you get kind of, and it might not have made a ton of sense going like I said, that whole thing with the Myers and Edwards tag team.
Right.
I didn't see it there, but then once the match with Okada is announced, now it makes total sense. So like in January, I get it. Sometimes a storyline doesn't get told from the beginning. Maybe it's told in the middle or even the end. And that's kind of what happened with there. But when you look back over the next couple months, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months storytelling, you'll be like, oh, they were setting up some stuff in Final Resolution, but we didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
But it had to happen to get us to the next step.
Absolutely.
And I think it served its purpose pretty darn well for that.
It did. It did, definitely. And so to wrap this up, to put a bow on it, thank you, Impact Wrestling. Can't wait to see what the new year and the new brand, the rebirth of TNA brings. Whole new, coat of paint, fresh faces, fresh look, some new themes all across the board. Yeah, paint on, whatever. Yeah,
Paint the fence.
Paint the fence. Yeah. So this guy and myself, this is total nonstop Impact talk for Impact fans, soon to be TNA fans. So we'll see. We've jokingly said that we were gonna rebrand the podcast, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. You might see some new logos, but probably not a complete shifting of the gears in this podcast. So, but nonetheless, we'll see what the end of the year brings as far as content from Impact. Usually it's like a best of kind of stuff.
Yeah, they haven't really teased what's for next week, but it feels like that's where it's going to go. But
yeah,
we'll just have to wait and see.
Maybe some more highlights.
Surprised us before.
Maybe some more highlights from Mexico. Who knows what they're going to do?
There could be.
I think they used up all the content from Chicago. At least I think they did. I'm not sure. It's a little fuzzy.
I think for Chicago, it's mainly used up. But I won't say there's still some content from other tapings that hasn't been aired yet.
Could be, yeah. So yeah, that's it for this one. On your way out, folks, you know what to do. Make sure you smash that like button, smash that sub button, ring that bell for notifications. Why? So that you know when more of our content hits your screen. Good night, folks. We'll see you next week. Take care. Have a good one.